struggling with desires? You're not alone. Every single day we're at war, not with the outside world but within ourselves. Our greatest battle is with our own nafs, the inner self that constantly pulls us toward temptation, laziness, and distraction. But what if I told you that in just 30 days you could take the first steps to defeat your nafs and regain control of your life? This is the story of Yusuf, an ordinary young man who embarked on a transformational journey to conquer his desires. His story isn't just inspiring, it's a practical guide for anyone ready to change their life for the better. Yusuf was like most of us. He wanted to pray on time, control his anger, and stay focused on what truly mattered. But every day he found himself giving in to distractions. Social media consumed hours of his time, his temper flared up at the slightest inconvenience, and he missed far more times than he cared to admit. Deep down, he knew he was drifting away from Allah, but he felt powerless to stop it. One day, after missing far for the 5th time that week, Yusuf sat on his bed, staring at the floor. Tears welled up in his eyes as he whispered to himself, "Will I ever overcome this? Or am I doomed to fail?" That evening, while scrolling aimlessly through his phone, Yusuf stumbled upon an online lecture about taming the nafs. The speaker's words struck a deep chord in him. Your greatest enemy is not outside, it's the nafs within. But Allah has given you the tools to fight it. The question is, are you ready to start? These words felt like a wake-up call. For the first time, Yusuf realized that defeating his nafs was not an impossible task. It was a challenge he could face with the right mindset and tools. Motivated by this newfound hope, he decided to embark on a 30-day journey to tame his nafs. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but he was determined to try. Stage 1. Awareness and discipline. The first 10 days were all about building awareness and establishing discipline. Yusuf started small, focusing on one day at a time. Each morning after Fajr prayer, he sat quietly and reflected on his goals. He asked himself, what is my biggest weakness today? How will I overcome it? Writing down these reflections helped him stay mindful throughout the day. For instance, if he noticed that anger was a recurring problem, he made a conscious effort to stay calm in challenging situations. If procrastination was holding him back, he committed to completing at least one important task before noon. One of the most effective practices Yusuf adopted during this stage was fasting twice a week, following the sunnah of fasting on Mondays and Thursdays. Fasting not only helped him control his physical desires, but also reminded him of his spiritual goals. Each time he felt hungry or thirsty, he used it as an opportunity to make dhikr and seek Allah's help in overcoming his nafs. Yusuf also made it a point to pray all 5 daily prayers on time. Initially, this required a lot of effort, especially for Fajr. He set multiple alarms and placed his phone far from his bed to ensure he got up. Over time, this discipline became a habit, and he began to feel the spiritual benefits of starting his day with prayer. These small but consistent actions laid the foundation for the next stage of his journey. Stage 2. Building spiritual strength. With the basics in place, Yusuf shifted his focus to building his spiritual strength. He dedicated time each day to reciting the Quran with meaning. Instead of rushing through the verses, he read slowly, reflecting on their meanings and how they applied to his life. This practice deepened his connection with Allah and gave him the motivation to continue his journey. One of the most transformative habits Yusuf adopted during this stage was praying tahajjud. Waking up in the middle of the night was challenging, but he found it incredibly rewarding. In the stillness of the night, he poured his heart out to Allah, asking for strength to overcome his weaknesses and guidance to stay on the right path. These moments of vulnerability and connection gave him a sense of peace and purpose that he had never felt before. To minimize distractions, Yusuf made some practical changes in his daily life. He deleted unnecessary apps from his phone and set time limits on the ones he needed for work or communication. This simple step helped him regain control of his time and focus on more meaningful activities. He also started spending more time outdoors, appreciating the beauty of Allah's creation and reflecting on his greatness. During these 10 days, Yusuf also worked on improving his character. He made a conscious effort to speak kindly to others, avoid gossip, and show patience in difficult situations. Each small act of kindness and self-control felt like a victory over his fears, boosting his confidence and strengthening his resolve. Stage 3. Sustaining the change. By the 3rd stage, Yusuf began to see significant changes in himself. He felt more in control of his desires, more connected to Allah, and more focused on his goals. But he knew that sustaining these changes required consistent effort and accountability. One of the key practices he adopted during this stage was giving charity daily. Even if it was just a small amount, the act of giving reminded him to be grateful for his blessings and to think of others before himself. This simple habit helped him overcome selfishness and cultivate a sense of humility. Youssef also started volunteering at his local mosque. Spending time in a positive, faith-based environment surrounded by pious company motivated him to stay on track. He found that the more he gave his time and energy to helping others, the less room there was for negative thoughts and distractions. To ensure he stayed consistent, Youssef asked a close friend to be his accountability partner. They checked in with each other regularly, sharing their struggles and celebrating their progress. This mutual support made the journey less daunting and more rewarding. Every night before bed, Youssef spent a few minutes reflecting on his day. He asked himself, "Did I win today's battle with my nafs? What can I do better tomorrow?" This nightly reflection kept him mindful of his goals and motivated him to keep improving. By the end of the 30 days, Youssef felt like a new person. He wasn't perfect, no one is, but he had taken control of his life in a way he never thought possible. His days were now filled with purpose. His connection with Allah was stronger than ever, and his desires no longer controlled him. Youssef realized that taming the nafs is a lifelong journey, but every step toward improvement brings him closer to Allah's pleasure. Defeating your nafs isn't about becoming perfect overnight. It's about making small, consistent changes and relying on Allah's help. It's about taking one step at a time, knowing that each step brings you closer to your ultimate goal, earning Allah's pleasure and preparing for the Akhirah. If Youssef could do it, so can you. Are you ready to start your 30-day challenge? What will be your first step in defeating your nafs? Share your goals in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring Islamic stories and lessons to help you on your journey to the hereafter.